They gave me a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. Marry a man who'd buried 3 wives under mysterious circumstances, or watch my master sell my younger sister to the coal mines instead. I was 22 years old, had never even kissed a man, and now I was supposed to share a bed with a monster who saw me as property he'd purchased for $5,000. So I ran. I ran into woods so dark I couldn't see my own hands, with nothing but a stolen shawl and the certainty that I'd rather die free than live one more day in chains. For 6 days, I hid in a rotting cabin, surviving on berries and creek water, waiting for death or discovery, whichever came first. Then I found him, a dying puppy, bleeding and broken, just like me. I used every healing secret my grandmother ever taught me to save that dog's life, even though I knew it might cost me my own. Because if I couldn't save something innocent in this cruel world, what was the point of surviving? When the dog finally healed and disappeared into the forest, I thought that was the end. I'd saved one life, maybe that was enough. But 3 days later, that dog came back, and he wasn't alone. The man standing in my doorway had eyes that could kill. Everyone said so. Son Yo Ming, the most dangerous criminal in 3 states, the man the newspapers called the Jade Dragon, the man whose empire was built on blood and fear. He stood there in his expensive suit, looking at me like I was a puzzle he needed to solve, and then he smiled. Not a dangerous smile, but something soft, something I'd never seen on any man's face when they looked at me. He said 5 words that changed everything. You saved what I love. I didn't know it then, but the criminal the world feared would become the only man who ever made me feel human, and the respectable society I'd run from, they would do everything in their power to drag me back to hell. But here's what I need you to understand. When you have nothing left to lose, you discover what you're actually willing to fight for. And when someone sees you as fully human for the first time in your life, would you risk everything to keep that feeling? Because I did, and it cost more than I ever imagined. Let me take you back to where it all began, to the night my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Please hit the subscribe button to support our stories and also be a part of our growth. Let's continue our story. I was standing outside Master Calloway's parlor, my ear pressed against the door like I had no right to hear my own fate being decided. Inside, cards shuffled, glasses clinked, and my master's voice, thick with whiskey and desperation, said the words that would change everything. I'll give you the girl, Ataline, 22, healthy, untouched. She's worth at least $5,000 to settle my debt. The room went quiet. Then Augustus Rutherford spoke, his voice like gravel scraping bone. I'll take her, but I want her delivered by week's end. Clean, obedient, ready. My stomach turned to ice. Everyone in 3 counties knew about Augustus Rutherford. Everyone whispered about his 3 dead wives. Sarah, who supposedly fell down the stairs, Margaret, who drowned in 2 feet of water, and sweet Jenny, barely 19, who they found in the root cellar with her neck at an impossible angle. Accident, they said each time. Tragic, they said each time. But women knew. Women always knew. I pressed my hand against my mouth to keep from screaming. This was what freedom looked like in 1926 if you were black and poor and born under the wrong roof. A choice between being sold to a monster or watching someone you loved suffer instead. Because Master Calloway had made it clear, if not me, then my sister Clara would pay his debt. 13-year-old Clara, who still believed the world could be kind. Mrs. Calloway found me in the hallway an hour later, tears streaming down my face. She didn't ask why, she knew. You should be grateful, she said, adjusting her pearl necklace. At least you'll have a roof over your head, a man to provide for you. Some girls aren't so fortunate.
I wanted to laugh. Fortunate, as if being property with a marriage license was somehow better than being property without one. as if the law that said I couldn't be a slave anymore meant anything when men like Rutherford could still buy me with a handshake and a debt receipt. That night, I stood at my tiny window and stared at the dark wall of trees beyond the property. Grandmother's voice echoed in my memory, stories she'd told me before she died, stories about the Underground Railroad, about cabins hidden deep in the woods where runaways could rest, about women who chose the wilderness over the auction block, who said no more even when the world said they had no right to refuse. I made my choice. Just after midnight, when Master Calloway's snoring rattled the house, I wrapped my grandmother's shawl around my shoulders, tucked a piece of bread into my pocket, and slipped out the back door. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Every snap of a twig sounded like gunfire. Every shadow looked like a man with rope and chains. But I kept running. The woods swallowed me whole. Branches tore at my dress, my face, my arms. I couldn't see 3 feet ahead, but I knew if I stopped, if I let fear freeze me in place, they'd find me by morning. So I pushed forward, following the North Star like grandmother taught me, whispering prayers to ancestors I'd never met, but who I knew had made this same desperate flight. By dawn, my feet were bleeding. My dress was in tatters. But I'd found it, a cabin so deep in the woods it looked like the forest had tried to reclaim it. Rotting wood, broken windows, a door hanging crooked on its hinges. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. For 3 days, I survived on creek water and wild berries. I heard dogs in the distance, Rutherford's men already hunting what he considered his property. But the cabin was hidden well enough, covered by thick vines and surrounded by thorny undergrowth that made it nearly invisible unless you knew what to look for. On the 4th morning, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Not dogs this time. A whimper, weak and desperate, right outside the cabin door. I should have stayed inside. I should have stayed silent. But just once, I wanted to choose differently. I opened the door and found him, a puppy, black and tan, with a gash on his leg so deep I could see bone. He looked up at me with eyes that seemed to ask a question I understood in my soul. Will you help me, or will you leave me to die? I couldn't leave him, even though I barely had enough to survive myself, even though every second outside the cabin was a risk. I couldn't let something innocent suffer when I had the power to prevent it. I gathered him in my arms, felt his little heart racing against my chest, and carried him inside. Using everything grandmother had taught me about healing, I cleaned his wound with creek water, made a poultice from yarrow and plantain leaves I found near the stream, and wrapped his leg with strips torn from my already ruined dress. For 3 days, I nursed him. I gave him half my food. I talked to him about my fears, my dreams, the life I'd never have. I named him Hoga after a brave dog in one of grandmother's stories, and slowly, miraculously, he healed. When he could finally walk again, he went to the door and whined. I knew what it meant. He wanted to go home, wherever that was. My hands shook as I opened the door. Hoga looked back at me once, his tail wagging, and then he disappeared into the trees. I closed the door and slid down against it, crying harder than I had since the night I ran, because saving him had given me purpose, and now that purpose was gone. I was alone again, with nothing but fear and hunger and the distant sound of men shouting my name in the woods. 5 days passed. I rationed the last of my berries. I considered going deeper into the wilderness, but I was so weak I could barely stand. On the 6th day, I heard barking. I opened the door expecting to see hunters, expecting this to be the end. Instead, I saw Hoga, tail wagging furiously, looking healthier than I dared hope. And behind him, stepping out of the shadows like something from a dream, or a nightmare, was a man who made my breath catch in my throat. He was tall, dressed in a suit that looked completely out of place in the woods, with dark eyes that seemed to see straight through me. Chinese, I realized, And from the way he carried himself, the expensive cut of his clothes, the quiet authority that radiated from him like heat from a fire, this was not a man accustomed to being told no. Our eyes met. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. I saw him take in my torn dress, my hollow cheeks, the fear I couldn't hide. And I saw something in his expression shift, something that looked almost like recognition, like he was seeing someone he understood even though we'd never met. Hoga ran to me, jumping and licking my hands, then ran back to the man as if to say, "See, this is who saved me." The man's gaze moved to Hoga's leg, to the careful bandaging, to the healed wound. When he looked back at me, his expression had softened in a way that made my chest ache. "You saved him," he said. Not a question, a statement of fact delivered in Cantonese accented English that somehow made the words feel more meaningful. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to protect myself, but I was too tired, too hungry, too defeated. "I am son Yo Ming," he said, taking a careful step forward like he was approaching a frightened animal. "This is my dog. I have been searching for him for 8 days." 8 days? He'd spent 8 days looking for a dog, not just sent someone else, not just given up. He'd searched himself. "I didn't know," I whispered. I couldn't let him suffer." Sun Yo Ming studied me for a long moment. Then he looked around at the cabin, at my pitiful supplies, at the way I swayed on my feet from weakness and exhaustion. "You are running from something," he said, not an accusation, an observation from someone who recognized the signs. I wanted to lie, to say I was just passing through, that I'd be gone soon. But what was the point? I had nowhere to go, no strength left to keep running. "Yes," I admitted. "From what?" "From a man who claims to own me, from a law that says I'm free but still lets me be sold like property to settle someone else's debt, from a marriage that would kill me even if it took years." The words tumbled out, bitter and raw. I ran because dying free in these woods seemed better than living one more day as someone's possession. Something flashed in Sun Yo Ming's eyes, something that looked like anger, but not at me. "This man who claims to own you," he said quietly, "what is his name?" "Augustus Rutherford." I saw Sun Yo Ming's jaw tighten. "I know this name. I know his reputation." He paused, then said something that made my world tilt. "You are right to run from him. He is a monster who hides behind respectability." No one had ever validated my fear before. No one had ever acknowledged that I had a right to be terrified, a right to refuse, a right to choose death over that kind of life. "You saved my dog when you had nothing," Sun Yo Ming continued. "You showed kindness when the world has shown you only cruelty. This tells me everything I need to know about who you are." He took another step closer. "I am going to make you a promise, and I keep my promises. You are safe here. No one will harm you, not while I draw breath." I didn't understand. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." He smiled then, a small, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. "I know enough, and perhaps," he gestured to Hoga, who was wagging his tail between us, "perhaps this little one has better judgment than either of us." Before I could respond, he turned to leave. Then he paused at the tree line and looked back. "I will return tomorrow, with food, with supplies, and if you wish, with answers to questions I think you are too afraid to ask." "What questions?" I called after him. "How a man like me came to understand what it means to run from a world that sees you as less than human," he said softly. "How I learned that the law is not justice, and respectability is not honor. How I built a life in the shadows, because the light would not have me." He met my eyes. "We are not so different, you and I." Then he was gone, melting into the forest with Hoga at his heels, leaving me standing in the doorway with tears on my cheeks and something I hadn't felt in years blooming in my chest: hope. He returned the next day, just as he promised. He brought rice, vegetables, tea, and a warm blanket that felt like luxury against my skin. We sat in the cabin with Hoga between us, and Yo Ming told me his story. He'd come to America at 15 with his father, chasing the promise of gold and opportunity. Instead, they found brutal discrimination, laws that said they couldn't own property or marry outside their race. White men who beat his father bloody for the crime of looking at a white woman wrong. When his father died from those injuries, Yo Ming learned a truth that had shaped his life. The law wouldn't protect people like him, so he found others who understood that truth, and together they built their own system of protection. We started as mutual aid, he explained, pouring tea with practiced grace, helping Chinese workers who were cheated of wages, protecting families from violence the police ignored. But in America, if you operate outside the law, even to survive, you become criminal. So we accepted the label, and we built an empire in the shadows. Gambling, liquor during Prohibition, protection services, he continued. The newspapers call me a gangster, a yellow menace, a threat to civilization. He smiled without humor. But I have never forced a woman into marriage against her will. I have never beaten a man for the color of his skin. I have never called someone property. His eyes met mine. Tell me, Ataline Ronny, who is truly the criminal? The man who breaks unjust laws to protect his people, or the man who uses just laws to commit injustice? I told him everything then, about the debt bondage that kept my family trapped despite slavery being abolished decades ago, about the forged contracts, the impossible interest rates, the way the system was designed to keep us powerless, about Rutherford's 3 dead wives and the knowing silence of respectable society, about my sister Clara and the choice I'd made to save her even if it meant destroying myself. Yo Ming's hands clenched into fists. "This Rutherford," he said, voice tight with controlled rage. "He is the criminal, not you. Not for running, not for choosing life." For the next hour, we talked. He taught me words in Cantonese, Jiayao, which means add oil, but really means keep going, don't give up. I taught him about the medicinal plants I'd used to heal Hoga, shared grandmother's wisdom about yarrow for wounds and plantain for infection. He told me about the jade pendant he wore, his mother's, brought from China, now a symbol of his leadership. I told him about my dream of learning to read properly, of maybe helping others the way grandmother had with her healing knowledge. When Hoga stole a dumpling from the plate between us, we both laughed. Real laughter, the kind that loosens the knot of fear in your chest and reminds you that joy still exists in the world. As the sun began to set, Yo Ming stood to leave. "I will make sure you are never forced into anything again," he said. It wasn't a question or a request, it was a vow. But then Hoga's ears perked up. A low growl rumbled in his chest as he stared at the tree line. Yo Ming's entire demeanor changed, relaxed authority transforming into coiled readiness. "Someone is watching," he whispered. 3 men emerged from the woods. I recognized the leader, Jackson, one of Rutherford's men. He saw Yo Ming and hesitated, clearly recognizing him too, but greed and duty won out over sense. "This doesn't concern you, Chinaman," Jackson said, trying to sound confident and failing. "The girl belongs to Mr. Rutherford, legal and proper. We're just here to collect what's his." Yo Ming stepped between us, and I felt safer behind him than I'd ever felt in my life. "She belongs to no one," he said, voice quiet but sharp as a blade. Jackson's hand moved toward the gun at his hip. "Rutherford's already contacted Sheriff Morrison, got the law on his side. You really want to make this your fight?" "The law," Sun Yo Ming said with cold amusement, "has never been on the side of people like us. Tell Rutherford that Ataline Ronny is under my protection now. If he wishes to contest this claim, he knows where to find me." The men backed away, but Jackson spit on the ground. "Rutherford won't let this go. He paid good money. He'll get what's his." After they left, Sun Yo Ming turned to me. "You cannot stay here. It is not safe." Panic seized my chest. "Where can I go? I have nothing, no one." "You will come with me," he said, "to my establishment in the city. In the shadows of my world, you will be safer than in the light of theirs." The ride to the city was the first time I'd ever been in an automobile. I sat with Hoga in my lap, watching the forest give way to buildings, dirt roads turn to cobblestone, and then we entered Chinatown, a world of red lanterns and unfamiliar smells, of people who looked at Sun Yo Ming with respect and at me with curiosity, but not judgment.
His establishment was a restaurant that served as a front for his operations. Chen, his second-in-command, was skeptical. "You're bringing her here? You know what Rutherford will do." "Let him try," Sun Yo Ming said simply. They gave me my own room, small but clean, with a real bed and a door that locked from the inside. The first private space I'd ever had in my entire life. Mrs. Lee, the restaurant cook, taught me to make dumplings. I taught her my grandmother's cornbread recipe. Slowly, I began to understand the community, how they came to Sun Yo Ming for protection, for justice, for help that the official system denied them. One evening, over tea on the balcony overlooking Chinatown, Sun Yo Ming told me about Hoga. "My mother gave him to me before she died. Hoga means protector in an old dialect. She believed he would watch over me." He paused, looking at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. "But perhaps he was meant to lead me to you." I opened my mouth to respond, but Chen burst onto the balcony. "Rutherford has gone to the mayor. He's claiming she's a thief who stole valuable property. They're issuing a warrant for her arrest." The war council that followed showed me the impossible position Sun Yo Ming was in. Chen laid it out clearly. "If we fight this legally, we lose. The courts won't side with us against a white landowner. If we use forged papers and get caught, it destroys everything we've built. Is one woman worth risking our entire community?" Sun Yo Ming's response was immediate. "If we only protect ourselves, we become no better than those who oppress us." I listened from the hallway, my heart breaking. He was willing to risk everything for me, his empire, his people's safety, everything he'd built from nothing. I couldn't let him do it. That night, I packed what little I had and tried to leave. Sun Yo Ming found me at the door. "You think I saved you only to let you throw yourself back into chains?" "I won't let you destroy everything for me," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Your people need you." He pulled me close, his hands gentle on my shoulders. "You need to understand something. When I saw you in that cabin caring for Hoga despite your own suffering, I saw something I thought was lost in this world. Pure kindness. You reminded me why I started protecting people in the first place." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I am not risking my empire for a stranger, Ataline. I am protecting the woman I love." The world stopped. "You barely know me." "I know enough. I know your strength, your compassion, the way you smile when Hoga does something foolish, the way you listen to Mrs. Lee's stories like they matter. I know that in a world that tried to make you invisible, you shine brighter than anyone I've ever met." When he kissed me, it was tender and desperate and full of promise. It was the first time I'd ever been kissed, and it felt like coming home to a place I'd never been. The moment shattered with the sound of breaking glass downstairs. Rutherford had brought his men and a rival Tong leader who'd been looking for any excuse to challenge Sun Yo Ming's authority. Chaos erupted. I was grabbed by two of Rutherford's men and dragged toward the door. But I wasn't the helpless girl who'd fled into the woods anymore. Using the pressure point techniques grandmother had taught me for emergencies, I disabled one attacker. I bit the other hard enough to draw blood. Sun Yo Ming fought like controlled fury, taking down men twice his size while moving steadily toward me.
but it was Chen and the community who turned the tide. Restaurant owners, workers, families all rushing in to protect one of their own.
Rutherford grabbed me by the arm, his face purple with rage. "She's mine by law. I paid for her." Yo Ming's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. "Your law does not reach here, and she is not property. She never was." The rival Tong leader watched the entire community rally to protect me, watched Yo Ming fight with honor while Rutherford cowered behind hired guns. "A man who inspires such loyalty deserves respect, not challenge," he announced, turning his men against Rutherford instead. Outnumbered and outsmarted, Rutherford retreated, screaming threats about lawyers and sheriffs and the full force of the law. "Let him go to his corrupt officials," Yo Ming said calmly. "We will have something they cannot argue with." He presented me with papers, freedom papers, a new identity, documentation of birth, everything I needed to exist as a legal person in America. But then he said something that broke me open. "These papers can take you anywhere. You can start fresh, far from here, with enough money to build whatever life you want. You owe me nothing." He was giving me a choice, real freedom, not just a different master. I looked at the papers in my hands. I looked at the community that had fought for me. I looked at Yo Ming, this man who'd risked everything and still offered to let me go. "I've spent my whole life running from what others wanted me to be," I said softly. "For once, I want to choose what I want." I met his eyes. "And I choose this. I choose you. I choose this community that fought for me when they didn't have to." His joy was radiant. He produced a simple jade bracelet. "In my culture, this symbolizes eternal connection. Will you wear it? Will you build a life here, with me, as equals?" I accepted, not because I had no other choice, but because I finally had every choice, and this was the one I wanted. 6 months later, I stood in my clinic, a small space in Chinatown where I combined grandmother's herbal wisdom with modern medicine, serving both Black and Chinese communities who were ignored by established doctors. I was learning to read, learning Cantonese, teaching children who'd been told they didn't deserve education. Yo Ming watched me teach a young Chinese girl and a young Black boy, both outcasts finding hope in learning. Hoga slept at my feet, fully grown now and still my fierce protector. That evening, we stood on the balcony together, my jade bracelet catching the light, Chinatown alive and vibrant below us. I leaned against him. This man the world called a criminal who'd shown me more honor than any respectable person ever had. I ran into the darkness seeking death over bondage. Instead, I found something I never knew existed, a place where I was seen, valued, and free to become whoever I chose to be, not despite my past, but strengthened by it. Yo Ming kissed my forehead, and I was searching for a lost dog and found the other half of my soul. I smiled, thinking about how strange the path had been, how a wounded puppy had led to salvation, how kindness in the face of suffering had changed everything, how two people the world said didn't matter had built something that mattered more than anything else. This was my home. This was my family, and I had chosen it freely, the only choice that ever truly mattered.